Howdy folks, Rudrose here, and welcome to another Lorcana Wednesday, and we have pretty much all the cards revealed for Archazia Island at this point. They're not fully all updated here on Dreamborn yet, looking for the legendaries, and there's a few that still haven't been uploaded to Mushu Report, but we have the majority of the sets, so I just wanted to take some time to talk about them. If you haven't already, feel free to check out my spoiler video, which came out earlier in the week, and the cards that are beating these series. But let's jump right in. I'm not going to talk about everything, but I'm just going to touch on ones that seem kind of interesting. The puppy dog deck I'll talk about more when I hit Pongo. I hope it's a good deck because, you know, who doesn't like puppy dogs? They're cute. I don't think it'll be competitive. It seems like it just has too many holes in its game plan, but it's nice that there's at least something there. I'll try to touch on all the dual inks too, since that's a new big thing. Mirabelle Madrigal. Whenever this character quests, turn a song card with 3 or less from your hand, you discard. Super strong effect, especially in purple. What would you get? Friends on the Other Side. Amber, not as much. Let's take a look. Here are all the songs you can sing for 3 or less in these colors. You know, these 3 have seen some use. Bare Necessities, Painting Roses. Be Our Guest is still okay. Friends is still the best one. I still like Bosses on a Roll. Yeah. So, some good choices. This card, however, is really hurt by its 2-cost strength. This will be a theme for this review, so get kind of used to hearing it, but the ruby removal cards are holding a lot of cards in this game hostage. This being another good example. Maybe it's better when you shift it out on 4, but if you shift it on 4, this can just instantly be banished to a brawl, so yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. I wish if she had 3, at least then she's only in Medusa range. But, oh well. Anyway, Tuk Tuk. I mean, I don't know. If you want a bodyguard, I feel like you'd want something that at least hits back. Like, in theory, he could take a beating. He's essentially immune to cards that hit for 2. But anything that hits for 3, which is a lot of cards early, Calhoun, Fox, Snake, he still gets banished by those and then doesn't even potentially trade with them. Someone recommended this Baymax to me as a replacement for Bonsai in the green-purple deck. I need to see it in action before I'm convinced on that. It's inkable, which is really nice, and Bonsai is not, and getting an uninkable is always... But, like, earlier in the game, this might be okay, because early they might not have something to immediately challenge it, but later in the game, as a top deck, I think this is going to feel terrible. So I will try out Baymax, but I don't actually have high hopes for this. Roger goes in with the puppies. Mim is just way too slow. And as someone pointed out on Facebook, this is just a worse version of Ursula, right? Like, by waiting one more turn, and even with a shift target, you get 4-7, which is better stats than a 4-5. You quest for 3 instead of 2. When you quest, you exert chosen characters, so the same effect, and you block people from singing. Like, yeah, it's 1 more expensive, but all those trade-offs are much more worth it. Like, I kind of can't believe this card was printed the way it is. And it's Mim, too. She usually at least gets cool stuff. Elsa's solid if you're playing it on a deck. This one's, I mean, instant lore gain is always worth looking at. It's probably a decent top deck too, since in the late game they're probably going to have an exerted character play instant lore. I don't know if this is worth it to find a space. Like, I feel like you're stacking up on roses and goats at this point anyway. I don't know if you need even more instant lore gain. So this one protects the other characters. He's kind of cool, and he's out of the red removal range, so that's neat. Yeah, he seems fun for a dual element. I don't know if he'll have a place. Like, he's pretty much too expensive and uninkable for a song deck. And he's probably way too expensive for the Diggy Diggy Hole deck, too, with the Dwarven Mines. So I don't know if he'll have a place, but he's a fun card. Training Staff. I'll talk about this in Bucky since these were my spoilers. And again, go check out that video on the channel if you haven't put a lot of work and time into it. So I'd be very grateful. Training Staff is fine. It's probably a little too expensive. It's just, yeah, because you have to pay 2 originally, so if you put this down on turn 2, then you need something to challenge that you put down on turn 1. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Fishhook. I like effects where you can repeatedly, as an item, use them over and over and over again, and this is only +1, or it's 1 ink instead of 2 ink that the Fishbone costs, and it's cheaper, but it also doesn't have the evasion line, plus it's Challenger 2 versus Challenger 3, so like, it's fine. It'll probably be maybe okay in draft or sealed, but I'll be surprised if this sees much play. Maybe in Sapphire Steel. Thunderbolt, if puppies are good, surely this guy's got to be good. Can shift onto any of the puppies for 3. He's kind of like a Power Crept Pluto. He's 2 cheaper. He's not 7. He has 1 less health, but the difference between 8 and 7 isn't a huge deal. I guess other than like a Maui Shark, but I mean, no, it's not like the Pluto Saw play anyway. So yeah, if puppies are good, this seems like it'll be good. I'm glad he's inkable. And Bucky, meant to talk about Bucky with the training staff. This was my other one. If he was just like a souped up version of Diablo, that anytime he was banished, you drew a card, I think that'd be way, way better. Honestly, and it kind of shows you where the game is at. I still don't know if you would want to play that. Part of the appeal of Diablo is he only costs 1. So on 8 ink, you can be prepared the board and follow up with a Diablo. 3 is a lot more expensive, but I think he needed the text that anytime he's banished, you get to draw the card. The fact that he has to specifically be banished in a challenge, and he has the stats that'll take him out to a Storm Rage on, is not very good. So while I was very happy to have this as a spoiler in this card, I don't think it'll see much play. Pongo, a very strong effect if he can stick around. He's got a decent body. Sucks he dies to Zeus, but 2 lore. It's a shame he's uninkable too. But the fact that you could potentially get puppies out of your inkwell, which really synergizes with there's another puppy that like puts them into your inkwell. So, because I was thinking like, well, what's the payoff for that ramp? What's the payoff for ramping with these puppies? Well, you get Pongo down, or maybe you put down Thunderbolt for free, paying for it outright. Yeah, I mean, I really hope the dogs are good because this looks very fun. Donald is just another in a long line of bad Amethyst legends, and we'll get to the Queen here in a second because I have a lot to say about that one. It's 7 costs, 5, 6, 3 lore is fine. It's just kind of what you expect for 7 costs. It sucks it's uninkable, and the effect is cool. It's a unique effect. It's neat that it messes with one of the fundamental rules of the game. There are magic cards that do that, and those are fun cards. Is this competitive, though? Absolutely not. He has to be on the board for this to be true, and if they get rid of him, which they can with a Be Prepared or a Maleficent Dragon or many other cards, then it immediately goes away. So if they're on 20 lore, they'll just win on the spot. Also, he's kind of in a weird space where he implies that you're going to be losing, right? Because let's say you're the faster deck. If you're going fast, you're trying to get to 20 before what do you even need this guy for? What do you need to stop and spend 7 ink for a body just to slow them down when you should be ahead of them anyway? Now, are there going to be those 1 in 20 games where you drop this guy and he totally wins it for you and they're like, no, I was going to get to 23 this turn and now you're Donald thwarted me? Yeah, there will. And yes, those will be fun and you should enjoy those when you get them. Competitively though, not at all. Hey. I don't know why they love this chicken so much. Why does this character keep getting cards? I do like this art though, and I love the text expanded consciousness. He's just picture him getting hit with some mind rays, and then and his brain explodes. And again, okay, neat effect. Put your entire hand into your inkwell. What if we changed that so it was every card but 1? So then you can shift the hey, dump everything but 1 into your inkwell, immediately exert him to sing Whole New World. But right now, it's well, that's great. I just ramped by +4 or +5 or 3, which is cool, except now I have nothing to do with that, and I'm stuck in top deck mode. Probably the best thing for this is if you have, Flaversham and a Popsicle on the field. So you've got Flaversham out on 4, and you still have a bunch of items Flaversham can draw with. You bring the hey down for 5, dump the rest of your hand. You don't even have to ink, technically. You can just drop the hey. Well, I guess you'd have to ink to get to 5. And then dump your hand, and then the Flaversham helps you refill it. That's probably the only way this is going to be worth it. Yeah. Other than that, could he have at least had 3 attack, 2 attack? He can go down to a human Sisu? That's no good. These ones, I don't remember doing anything that great. The Queen, I was so excited when I saw this card. So excited. I saw I saw this version first, and it was kind of a rough translation. It wasn't here on Mushu Report. And I thought this card was great, and I thought, oh my gosh, finally we have a maybe not broken, but a very strong Amethyst legend worth running. And I instantly thought, I'm going to put this in my red-purple deck. I'm going to put this in my girlfriend's green-purple deck. I don't know what we'll take out yet, but we're going to try it at least as a 2-of. Why? Because I thought it was on play. Somehow I missed this exert symbol, and I thought it was when you play this character, choose 3 cards in an opponent's discard and put them under their deck to gain 3 lore. And the second line about the princess is whatever. I mean, as a late game finisher, you know how strong that is? That's instant 3 lore. That's fantastic. You just drop the Queen, send cards away. Especially in the late game, they're going to have 3 cards you can send away. There's no way they're not going to do that. And it would also be a counter to red-blue decks where you can send their items away. You can send their actions away so they cannot recycle them with Tamatoa and Maui Half Shark. I was so stoked for this. I don't know how I missed this exert symbol. But man, the fact that you play this on 4 for the stats of a goat and it does nothing the turn you play it and then has to sit there a whole turn, makes it a lot weaker. However, if this can resolve, I think you only need this to resolve once. And with 4 attack power, it's going to at least trade with most things that would challenge it at that point. Now, is that going to be enough to justify using a card that does nothing the turn you play it? Probably not. But I think this one at least has some upside. I was so excited when I thought this card was the moment you played it. Stabbing Team Brothers, Lore Steal, gives him rush. That's kind of nice. Hero is, like, in theory, super strong, right? Your Floodborn characters that have a card under him, so he wants you to shift other cards, gain Evasive and Ward. And that does apply to himself. So if you shift him onto something, he has Ward and Evasive, which sounds insanely strong. And if you also have like the Baymax Universal Shift, holy moly, you could have a board full of evasive characters with Ward. Unfortunately, Maui Half Shark is evasive, so he can also just eat all these cards up. But if that all lines up for you, sounds freaking broken. Green, blue will be interesting to watch this set. Penny, like the Ana better. TikTok's not very good. Silver's fine, I guess. Yeah, nothing exciting to say about him. I don't know why they just reprinted Stitch and gave it a different character. Very strange. Taka, I'll never be going in on the big Taka, but it's nice they gave her a better shift target as opposed to the uninkable one from like set 1. This one at least, I mean, it's fine. Something that hits for 7, 6 willpower. It's fine. Wendy, when your other characters, but you may remove all damage from chosen characters. Just kind of weird. I mean, it fits what Amber wants to do to heal. Why couldn't it be like when Wendy challenges or when Wendy quests? I don't know. I can't picture that doing a whole lot. I mean, Aladdin reads super strong, just like the Queen. If he sticks around, playing any ally character card up to 3 for free is an incredibly powerful effect. I don't know what all the allies are. I'm pretty sure Jasmine is one as well. So if he sticks around, then... Or no, she's not an ally. She's a hero and a princess. You draw a card for each ally. Yeah, so there's clearly a theme here. They want you to go in all these allies. But it's all on questing, so these are still a bunch of cards you have to play, and they have to sit there a turn, and then they get their effect off. He at least seems kind of fun, so I kind of hope something comes of that. Or any of these a lot of... Okay, we'll talk about the Legendary Return of Hercules. This card will definitely have some fun uses. I feel like it's too risky to play competitively. Now, granted, there are ways you can tilt this card in your favor, right? You have 1-drop Diablo to scout their hand first, so you know what they could potentially put down. And if the way's clear, it's like, oh, the best thing they've got is like a 2-drop. Here, I'm going to drop whatever my big bomb is. And then you also have the Ursula Deceiver. She can scout for a song. She gets to look at the hand as well. You also, if you're playing this in a discard deck, you can make it so they can't benefit from this at all. They've discarded their whole hand, and now you're getting a free drop. But if you get to that point, you're probably already winning anyway. So, again, can't see this being competitive, but it's a fun card at least. There's a bunch of cards like this that go based off of your Inkwell. It's nice it's till the start of the next turn, but other than that, this is just like, it's a Daisy Duck 2 turns later. It's fine. Just, this Yzma. I genuinely don't understand the point of this card. So, Shift 5, cost 7, it's evasive, 3/8. The willpower is fantastic, but the 3 strength means it dies to Medusa. I know, we're all tired of hearing it, but it's true. Whenever another character is banished in a challenge, return that card to its player's hand, and then that player discards at random. Like, I don't understand why these Amethyst Emerald cards, like, are double-sided, that they affect you and your opponent. So, like, let's say your opponent has a fox on the board, and you have a fox. So you challenge those foxes. You have your fox challenge their fox. Whenever another character is banished, so both foxes get banished, so both foxes come back to their players' hands, and then both players have to discard. Like, I mean, even if it's one-sided, your fox, let's say, takes out a rabbit. So the rabbit, instead of just getting banished and it's done with, no, it comes back to their hand, which also means it's going to draw a card. And now, unless it's the only card in their hand, they're going to have multiple cards that they could discard. So potentially, they might discard some other card that maybe would be a good hit, but maybe it's terrible. And maybe they're like, cool, now I get to replay Rabbit again. So the only time you can guarantee that they discard the card you send back, like a Bruno, is if they have nothing in hand. But in which case, you would have just banished it anyway. Like, so what's even the point? I just don't understand this card. I don't understand what it's even trying to do. I don't understand why it's in these colors. Bad card. Very bad card. Kanai seems kind of interesting. If this character is exerted, ready another chosen character of yours and remove all damage. So not only are you readying them in that rare instance when your characters are hanging around with damage, you can heal them up. So like, let's say you had a Daisy Duck that your opponent couldn't take out in one turn and they're trying to take it out in two, then it heals itself, which is cool. Again, however, it's not on play. He has to be exerted. So unless you have a way to exert him on turn 4 that you've played him, he's not doing anything until turn 5. That's no good. Queen of Hearts is like a reverse Lawrence, which I think is a bad place to be. Dual Link Madrigal, top 5, reveal a magical character in a song. Getting 2 off of 5 is okay, especially since you're scouting. You're obviously going to have to build your deck around this. And it clearly wants to go with the Mirabelle. It's whatever. This seems like worse Alan A. Dale. Yeah, that doesn't seem very good. That's a blank. This one's kind of interesting, Snow White. Cannot be challenged whatsoever. So if, not that anyone's playing competitive decks these days that have no spot removal, but if you happen to be going against a deck with no spot removal, or if it's burned a bunch of its spot removal, and the only way they can get rid of a character is challenging, like, this is pretty impressive, actually. This card just sits there and says, yeah, you can't ever hit me. You can't ever hit me. I don't care if you have evasive. You can't hit me. You have to burn spot removal on me. Unfortunately, it has 2 health. Maybe if they thought it had 3, it would be too much. It sucks that a 4 cost goes down to Storm Rage on, but this one could be sneaky good, and that, like, this would be such a good sideboard card. I do like the art, too, with all the, like, kind of robotic-looking animals from Archazia. That's pretty neat. Meh. I mean, it's instant. Well, as you both draw 3 cards, I guess maybe good if you're trying to mill them out. Throw it in the mill deck. I mean, I think the slippers are terrible, so I don't know if this is worth building around, but it's a strong effect, at least, that it's immediate and instant 3 lore. Could be a way for those decks to cheese lore, but they have to play the slippers, and the slippers just don't seem worth it, so... unless you really want to cheese lore, I don't think you'll see that. I mean, basically worse Elsa, right? Like, it's cool that the character doesn't ready, so it has that freeze effect to it, but they get to choose, and Elsa also can rush and has evasive, so yeah, you're not playing that over Elsa. Shere Khan, you know, he's the fours are wild, right? Cost 4, strength 4, willpower 4 lore. You have to discard your hand, so unless you've burned your hand out, just oh Ravensburger. You do love your design. 2 cards from your discard in your Inkwell, face down and exerted. Pretty strong. I don't think this will see play, though, because Great Stone Dragon just does that and can do it repeatedly, and this costs 5, which is very expensive unless you sing it. Unless the red-blue decks just really want more songs for Maui to abuse, I don't see that happening. The Anna Elsa combo is kind of fun in the colors. I don't know if it'll be competitive, but it's kind of fun. Yeah, Penny as a healer is cool. It's a little too soon. Like, if you're doing an aggro deck, you probably want to do it later. Like, I actually don't hate it as a way to help Smee. So, like, if you play this on turn 3 with another 1-drop, and then you heal your Smee and give him resist so he doesn't take more damage, that's pretty cool. Lyle is a fun... I love the art on this card, but it hits everything, and it's... Unless you have extra ways to put ink, it does nothing the turn you play it on 8. And gets banished by Zeus. If I'm doing 8 for a similar stat line, I think I'm going to play Sisu. Coils, most of them aren't worth talking about, except for the one you already know is worth talking about, which is the Sapphire Coil. Basils. I mean, someone went back to this damage theme, not only just for green, but red. Everything's just all about damage. He's not that great. Feel a Floodborn character. If you're going all in on the Floodborn thing, the Baymax seems all right. If you're doing that whole Floodborn Hero Hamada package. Maurice, this is a fun little combo. It's cool to see his machine in the game. Again, I think there are better things red-blue has to do in the game, so I don't see the same play, but it's cool. They made it its own little combo, just not very good. 2 damage, but it's got to be a 2 damage character. No thanks. The red-yellow racer stuff just seems... It's cute. I like the racer deck, but I don't see anything in any of these cards that's going to make it super competitive. Mulan, I mean, it's a good shift target if you're going into the Mulan package. This one is pretty, right? So if you have an illusion, you just get to draw 3/3, 2/2. It's not bad. Is that better than Genie? Probably not. Genie's just a straight draw and he's evasive. This one's at least inkable. If you're going in on the illusions, maybe, and you can see, I like in the art that you can actually see the other illusions there, so that's kind of cool. Helga, someone said this would be a good counter to Diablo, like, 3 sets ago when we needed him, because it can actually challenge Diablo and stay alive. Yeah, she's interesting. She's kind of like reverse Calhoun, but if you're just doing normal challenging, you probably just want the Calhoun. Man, I would love the Lady and the Tramp cards to be good, but I don't recall this being very... Yeah, it's just all about, like, mass characters. Jam as many characters out there as you want. Many cards, but then you have to discard them. So, I mean, you're cycling, I guess, but you're not gaining advantage. This is a 7 cost. Why can't I not gain card advantage for playing a 7 cost character? That doesn't make any sense. Li Shang, this whole ruby steel thing... I want to see it succeed. These colors have always been a little lacking, mainly because they lack card draw, and they didn't get anything for the card draw. They really doubled down on the fact that, hey, you just get to do all this challenging, and that is cool, and I think that'll be fun. I'm going to try it, but I think the deck will still ultimately suffer from the card draw. Yeah, many of them, Mickey, if he hit for more than one, I know a bunch of people have talked about, oh, you get, give him Challenger with a Crab, or you give him Rush with a Cogsworth, or other stuff, so you can get the surprise, he takes something out. Similar to the Trumpeter Mickey, though, too, it just has to line up that you have this big body in hand, so I'm sure this will lead to a lot of fun moments, but probably not going to be competitively viable, which, granted, most of this stuff isn't ready, but it's only damage characters. This one's pretty solid, especially in these colors. Purple Amethyst, Amethyst Steel does some challenging anyway. Exerts the whole board, and it's whenever one of your characters banishes. So if they have multiple characters, you can banish that turn. 2 lore, 2 lore, 2 lore. Imagine you have a Calhoun there too. So Calhoun banish, 2 lore for Calhoun, 2 lore from this effect, and then Robin Hood comes in as well to like. I think this card can be a pretty insane way to close out the game in that list. So this color combination actually got quite a bit this set. The Tremaine. It's a 6 cost uninkable, 3/3 stat line, which is terrible. Return chosen damage character to their player's hand, then each opponent discard. So the only part I like about this is that you can bounce your own stuff and your opponent still has to discard. This one... Even though I don't think it's good, at least I understand it. It makes sense, unlike the Yzma, which I really don't get what that card was going for. This card, if it sticks around, is essentially infinite value that you keep making your opponent discard. You can have your own character run in, challenge it, and then you save your own character, and then, yeah. I mean, she's probably not going to stick around as a 6-cost uninkable with a 3/3 stat line, but there's at least an idea there, and I can see the idea. Another hey. Yeah, most of these are forgettable. Sapphire Coils... why? It's like they saw my video, the cards that are beating you, Ruby Sapphire, and when I complained about Ice Block, and they were like, you know what? He's right. Ice Block is a problem. These poor Ruby Sapphire players shouldn't have to put up with another uninkable in their deck. I mean, it's already the most represented deck at most major tournaments. Like, just why? Why? Now, are there some downsides to this? Yes, so I actually wouldn't be surprised to see Ice Block still stick around just due to consistency. Ice Block is 1 cheaper. This has to come out in turn 2, which usually the decks are trying to ramp. And if you get into this rare scenario where it's late in the game, you don't have many cards in hand, you might not be able to afford to put another card in your Inkwell to shrink something, whereas Ice Block, you just exert it and shrink something. So there is a chance that maybe people still prefer Ice Block, but that's not like a victory for those of us who want to not see blue, Ruby Sapphire shoved down our throats every game. Because they'll just go back to the Ice Block. Like if the Sapphire Coil for whatever reason ends up not being worth, okay, well, we'll just keep playing the Ice Block instead. So either way, you're going to be dealing with an item that reduces power. But the power of this one, that you could banish a Tamatoa on turn, like they have a Tamatoa. Let's say you're on turn, you're on 5 ink. The fact that you could ink for turn, reduce it to 3, play Medusa and banish it, that's just dumb. Like why? Whatever. Yeah, Elsa looks fun at least. Character quest, you may exert chosen character. If you do any of a character name, chosen character, yeah. I love the little dull freeze effect. The art's really cool too. It's a fun blurp one. I don't know if this will actually see play, just because I think the 8-cost Elsa is just a better overall payoff. Although this one shifts a bit earlier, and that is a pretty good shift line. You have to have the Ana though, so it's fun at least. Ready all your characters gain on uninkable? No, out of order. And more like this card needs to be put out of order. Why? So it's Dragonfire? Oh, well, it's inkable now. Okay, but it costs 2 more. 2 more. If I'm going to be paying 7, I'd rather just get the what is it called? Energy Blast, the one that draws you a card, at least replaces itself. This is the same price as Be Prepared. 2 less than a Maleficent Dragon, and that comes on a 2 lore body. Like, you want me to pay 7 to get rid of 1 character? Unreal. The cost of removal in this game continues to just be insanely overpriced. They seem to really want to make Isabella the Madrigal that like gets a ton of lore. This character can't be challenged until the start of the next turn. Wait, whenever one of your characters sings a song, this character... Okay, so she can't be challenged as long as someone else sings it, but they have to specifically sing. You can't hard cast it. So, cute idea. I just don't think it'll see play. I don't think this replaces anything in that deck. None of these I remember. I mean, the Prince is kind of interesting just because of his stats, because he has so much willpower. But I feel like you want bodyguards that at least attempt to trade with something. Lucky, I think this is the one that puts it into the inkwell, right? No, you reveal any number of puppy cards. So if this quests and you hit both, which if you're playing a puppy deck, there's a good chance you will, right? I mean, draw 2 on a quest on a 3-body? That's pretty good. Unfortunately, he has the stats of an Olaf. That's terrible, but at least he quests for 2. Yeah. Probably not good. It's going to feel good when it pays off, but, you know, it's the dog deck. Bagheera. Nice to see this character finally make it. Is banished during an opponent's turn, 2 damage to every character. So when he goes out, he essentially does a free grab your sword on your opponent, which is a cool effect. And he's inkable. Yeah, I don't dislike this one. And he's a little understated for being a 5 cost, but... And it's any way he's banished. He doesn't have to be challenged. I mean, which, of course, the bodyguard kind of fits with that, too. That's kind of neat. Yeah, it can mess with some math. I'm not 100% sure what deck this goes in. Maybe even see this in the aggro deck. Maybe. I'd have to see how it plays out. Because it's an interesting idea that, like, well, they have to get through the Bagheera, but then when they do it, it, like, hits everything else on their board that they were going to challenge with. He could be fun. He's inkable, so that instantly gives him a place to play. Unlike his buddy Baloo over here, 6 cost, uninkable. The stats of a Sisu with less lore. Characters with 7 attack or more can't be dealt damage. I mean, like, okay, he doesn't even feed into himself for that. So he can't benefit from this unless you've got like 2 Lumieres on the field. And what if they're not playing Steel? What if they're playing Ruby Sapphire or Blurple? Cards that they tend to not... They can just remove you outright with Hades and let it go and all these other cards. Like, I mean, yeah, I guess in the dream scenario where somehow they can only deal with you with damage and you can somehow get him to 7 so they can't just damage him and completely remove the effect. Whatever. I'm already talking about this one more than it deserves. Checking through some of these, Kronk is forgettable. All the Ruby Amethyst cards are... I just don't understand why they're all tied to this whole, well, you have to damage something else, which just gives it all these conditions. And the more conditions you give a card, I mean, it's the harder it is to use it to its full value, which means its full value needs to be that much higher than a standard card, and most of these aren't. Diablo is very disappointing. I don't see anything to add to the green-purple deck. Purple in general feels like it got... Other than like some of the Duel Links, like some of the Blurple cards are okay, but purple by itself just feels like it got nothing. Water Has Memories, kind of interesting. I don't think anyone's going to run this, but it's interesting that you could, in theory, mess with your opponent's deck and try to make them draw into something you think they don't want, which could, of course, backfire. Touched on some of these before. Again, it's all the challenging game. Pete seems pretty strong. He protects himself, too. Actually, that's quite interesting. I'll be curious to see if Emerald Steel reforms itself this format or not. We'll find out. Maybe not if Ruby Sapphire is everywhere. Racers I want to be good, but I need to see it. Cusco is such a cool effect, but it's hurt by being a daisy on turn 5, 1/4, which also probably means you're not getting its effect till turn 6 anyway. Because again, it's a neat effect, and it's cool that it affects both players, but it's too expensive. Maneuvers maybe could be okay, since you could bounce your own goat, rabbit. It's a way to more abuse them, but you probably won't see it. And I found out, too, with the Taka, I thought there might have been a place for this card because I thought it was just a field effect that as long as your opponent has a exerted character, they immediately banish on your turn. Nope, they have to become exerted, which it should really say that. It should say during your turn, whenever an opposing character becomes exerted, banish them. Because the way it's written right now, you can just make the argument, no, it says opposing character is exerted. That opposing character is exerted. It's sideways. That's the only thing exertion is, that the character is sideways. It is currently excited, but it doesn't work that way. Oh, well, and Medusa, yeah. Why would I want to do a very low amount of mill and also have all these conditions? Like, man, going to be a rough set for Ruby Amethyst. Indeed. Canine Crunchies looks fun. Man, I hope all that goes well. And there's one more card I wanted to touch on. I did touch on some of these in a previous video, but there was one other card I wanted to touch on that got revealed, and that is... we got this Belle card, which I'm showing from someone's page on X, and I mean, why? Why? Why does Sapphire continue to just get silly cards? Like, and if you saw my last video on the cards that are beating you on Amber Steel Song, I said, what's the strongest thing about that deck is the ink cheating, is that these songs don't cost you ink. You can just turn sideways and do them. So now you can play Popsicle or Fortisphere or whatever your preferred turn 1 item is, immediately banish it, and have a snake on turn 1 that then can sing songs on turn 2. You can ramp, you can sing removal songs. Like, why? Just why? And it's inkable? How is this card inkable? The amount of cards that are uninkable in this game that are bad cards, even if they would be inkable. But a card like this is inkable? I just don't get it, man. I don't understand. Someone on the team must absolutely love Sapphire. Maybe the whole team loves Sapphire. And I like the idea of the color, but we don't need more free cheating ink into the game. And we keep getting it, so it is what it is. Anyway, let me know what cards you're excited for. If there's something, I know I didn't touch on everything. If there's one that really stood out to you, opens up a certain play style, or maybe that you're also just like, God, I don't want to play with this card. Let me know. I hope you enjoy Archazia's Island. We'll be back next Wednesday with more great card content. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. And until next time, take care.